Notice, this video was made before Player Core 2 came out for Pathfinder 2e, and so uses some class options from the original core rulebook. Hello YouTube and welcome to Cyprime Productions. I'm here to help enhance your tabletop gaming experience. So, this is it, the final installment of my series on making anime-style swordsmen in Pathfinder 2e. I don't know what the future holds, I may revisit this sometime down the line, but for now this is the final video. If you are just joining us, I'm a bit of a weeb and I want to make an anime-style swordsman in Pathfinder 2e. By anime-style swordsman, I mean a character that uses a curved katana or katana-ish weapon, is unarmored, and can do well in melee combat. I know that leaves out some swordsmen that are in anime, like Guts from Berserk. I have nothing against Guts, it's just not the vibe I'm going for with these builds. In part 1, I made a monk who uses an elven curved blade. In part 2, I used some ancestry shenanigans to make a sword fighter with skin as tough as steel. And in part 3, I made a dragon instinct, dragon disciple barbarian. But in making this video series, I got a few suggestions from you, the audience, and to thank you for all the help growing this channel, I thought I'd lay a few of those suggestions out here. Quick explanation, I won't be doing a full ABC character build for each option here, as I think that would get repetitive. So instead we're just going to touch on the general build design. But before we get into the actual builds, you know me, I have a few honorable mentions. In my barbarian build, several of you mentioned you thought the elemental spewing dragon instinct build would do a good job somewhat representing the demon slayers from the anime, well, Demon Slayer, with the breathing styles representing a reflavoring of barbarian rage. I know the demon slayers aren't literally breathing fire and stuff when they enter their breathing styles, but it kind of works as a representation. Or maybe they are really doing that? I've seen fans get into heated debates back and forth, let's not start an argument here. Either way, it doesn't matter. If you want to make a Demon Slayer-esque character using this idea, I think that's great, and it's an adaptation I didn't think of. Honorable mention 2 comes from Luca Montelli 267, I hope I pronounced that correct, who wishes to remind everyone you can get into Dragon Disciple from ways other than Dragon Instinct Barbarian. The archetype doesn't have a requirement, only an access entry. This is something GMs can waive if you have a good enough reason to be a Dragon Disciple. Even if a GM doesn't waive access, you could still get into it with a kobold, so you could make a kobold dragon disciple fighter or something using a similar build. Or you could just multi-class into dragon or wyrm-blessed sorcerer and then into dragon disciple if you wanted to wait till higher levels. Honorable mention 3 goes to Chiragasnani3437, who suggested a Vishkanya dragon instinct barbarian who envenoms their weapon as part of the fight. While it would be suboptimal mechanically, I feel like it would be great thematically to have a poison-spewing dragon instinct barbarian. Either way, very anime-esque. But now on to the actual builds. So for the first fan-based build, I saw a lot of people suggesting a Magus. There are actually 2 builds and 2 variations for each build that I was able to come up with that incorporate the Magus class. The first build is a high dex build with level 1 stats that look something like this. Now, if you want to use a two-handed weapon and be an inexorable Iron Magus, all you have to do is find a way to grab an elven curved blade, maybe through unconventional weaponry or elf weapon familiarity. The second variation uses the same stats, but instead is a Laughing Shadow Magus and uses the Aldori Dueling Sword one-handed. The Aldori Dueling Sword is also a curved blade that is kinda katana-esque if you squint. You can get scaling proficiency with the Dueling Sword either through unconventional weaponry or the rare background Sword Scion. It should be noted, of course, that the Laughing Shadow Magus lets you teleport short distances, which seems very anime to me. Either way, that would leave the build with 1 less AC than if they wore leather armor, but we can fix that simply by having your Magus cast Mystic Armor, the remaster name for Mage Armor, at the start of the day. That gives you a +1 to AC. Now, it does eat up one of your spell slots, but that's the price you have to pay for such a thing. If it's a big problem for you, maybe find a first level wand of Mystic Armor if you can. The second Magus build uses the second videos idea, have stats that look something like this, and then grab one of the ancestries that makes your body the equivalent of breastplate. Then you can either one-hand a katana as a Laughing Shadow Magus, or two-hand it as Inexorable Iron. The second build option I saw comes from Planeswalker Tardis, who suggested a Kineticist. This build would have stats like this, and would be either an Earth, Metal, or Wood Kineticist. The way this build works is you grab Weapon Infusion and then one of the infusions that creates armor around you. Then you reflavor your Kinetic Blast as looking like a katana, and maybe flavor your Kinetic Armor as like an aura of primal energy that surrounds you, so you still look unarmored. Are you wearing armor? Yes, technically, kinda, sorta, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, or just grab the ancestry that makes your body have breastplate like in video 2, and find some way to gain medium armor proficiency. Man, I feel like that solves a lot of our problems for these builds. A couple of people have also mentioned a similar build using the Soul Forger archetype, which is an archetype that can summon armor onto a person. The Soul Forger has a lot of details and moving parts that I won't get into, but it would work in a similar way. Just choose to be a fighter or ranger or whatever, and pick up that archetype for a nimbus of armor that surrounds you. That's it for the builds I saw that were suggested. Sorry if I missed one, but I do have a bonus build for you. This is just an extension of build number 2, the one with the armored body. In this case, though, you choose to be a thaumaturge. Your stats will end up looking something like this. For your implement, choose a weapon and go for that one-handed katana. This lets you reflavor your thaumaturge ability to exploit enemy weaknesses as not mystical, but that you are such an excellent swordsman that you can dissect an opponent's fighting style and exploit it just by looking at them. Of course, mechanically, you'd have to have your Esoterica still on you. Maybe you could reflavor that as putting paper talismans called Ofuda on your weapons. Either way, when you get your second implement, you could go with Regalia and have that be the sheath to your katana. That way you walk around with your katana sheathed in one hand, then draw it when combat starts, and you're good to go. Anyway, that's all for today. Sorry for the short video. As always, if you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. That tells both me and YouTube that you like this stuff and want to see more of this content. Once again, thank you so much for helping me get as far as I have. Thank you, good luck, and happy gaming.